everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to my end of 2023 WIP Parade. So the way that I'm going to do this parade is I will start off by doing a section that has everything that I would like to finish next year in 2024. Then I will do a group of projects that I would like to do a lot of stitching on next year so that I can get them finished in 2025 hopefully. And then I will at the end show you a very large category, which is all the projects that are just going onto a WIPGO board. And if you don't know, WIPGO is from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. I will link to the video up here. It will be in the description box. And for WIPGO, you have a board. It has 25 spaces, so the numbers are going 1 through 25. You can put whatever projects you want on it. You can put projects on there multiple times if you have less projects, so it could be on there like, you know, multiple times with different goals, same goal. And then you pick whatever goal you want for those projects on your WIPGO board, and then 2 projects get called every month. 1 month ends up with 3 numbers called, where when she picks the number, I think it's 13, the center of the board, then that can be like a free space. You don't have to put a project there. I am going to be giving myself a new start whenever that gets picked, and you can do whatever you want though. And so for that month, when the 13 is picked, I'm pretty sure it's 13, then there is another number picked, because for some people there might not be a project there. And so all my projects are going on that. My goal for anything on the WIPGO board is just do 1,000 stitches whenever it's picked. So those projects might only get 1,000 stitches on it next year, but I have realized with the amount of full coverage projects that I have that I really just need to focus on a few at a time, try and get them finished, and then I can pick different projects to focus on and the years after that. So the first category, getting started. Also, there will be pictures inserted, probably most likely here, of what everything will look like when it's finished. I will also have pictures of what it looked like at the beginning of the year if it was from previous years. Some of these charts are new starts, so there will not be a beginning of 2023 picture, so just throwing that out there. Anyways, we will get started with things that I would like to finish in 2024. The first one is the Festive Frosted Pumpkin Cottage from Witchy Stitcher. This was a new start in October, and here is this chart. This is being stitched on 28 count fabric. It's from Crossed Wing Collection in the color Deep Sea, which I really just love this fabric. And I'm stitching it 2/2 full cross using all the charted colors, which I love. So I started this chart from the middle. I have stitched all the way up to the top. Most of this top section is finished. There is some back stitching that needs to go into like the windows and stuff, but I just love this chart because it's Halloween and winter thrown together. So you have ghosts that wear hats. There is going to be a snowman that is made out of pumpkins. It's just a really fun chart. I think my plan for finishing it next year is to work on this more in the summer months and then have it finished in time for the Halloween season next year. The next one is another Halloween one because I realized in the last year that I don't have a lot of Halloween things stitched. I have quite a bit of Christmas stitching done, but Halloween I haven't really done yet. So I was like, I need to do some Halloween things so that I can decorate more at Halloween time. So this is Tonight We Ride, which is from Autumn Lane Stitchery. And I also started this one it was September, I think. I started it. I went to a Mariners game that was called Stitch and Pitch because one game a year they do a Stitch and Pitch, which is where it started as a knitting thing, but you can do any kind of stitching. So there was someone there who had like a full-on scroll frame, like a huge scroll frame that she was doing some sort of like cross stitch or embroidery. There was just a ton of stitchers, and they put all the stitchers into like one group area, and so you're just surrounded by people who are knitting or stitching. And then they also have people who are selling yarn in like a certain section, so you can buy yarn. It's a great time. You got us like a special shirt, so I have a shirt that says Stitch and Pitch, and so I started this on the day that I went to the Mariners game. And this is being stitched on fabric called This Is Halloween by Witch's Garden Crafts on Etsy. And I think, what is this? This is a 16 count. And I'm stitching it 2/1 full cross. And I love this chart, but there's going to be a ton of black. I think my plan for this project is I will also try and work on it in the summer at the same time that I'm doing my other Halloween chart, and try and also get it finished so I can have it ready by like September-ish, hopefully. The next one that I would like to get finished is a Pokemon chart that is from Glitch Stitch AU on Etsy. Love Glitch Stitch AU. I have already stitched 2 of her Stardew Valley charts. I have 2 more that I need to stitch to do like a spring and a summer chart. And I'm also doing a Lord of the Rings chart. I love the charts from Glitch Stitch AU so much. So I want to get this one finished. It's a Pokemon Switch that has the starters from the games Scarlet and Violet. I really love this chart. I am changing the colors of the Joy-Cons to match my Animal Crossing Joy-Cons because normally the Joy-Cons on this were red and blue, and that's the only change that I'm making to this chart. And it's being stitched on 18 count fabric, 2/1 full cross, and there's still a lot to do on this chart, but I'm hoping it won't take me that long because most of this is blocks of color. So like this Joy-Con here is going to be basically all this color here. And then it's the same thing with this other Joy-Con. It's mostly going to be just a couple colors. There will be like a darker color that goes on the side, and then the top of the Joy-Con is mostly one color. So it should hopefully go quick. And this is being stitched on a piece of fabric that has a lot of other charts that I plan on putting on it because I don't really like finishing things. And so I decided I would just put a lot of projects onto one piece of fabric, and then whatever it's done in like 20-30 years, then I can finish it somehow. For now, I can just enjoy stitching on it without having to worry about finishing things. And so I have characters from the anime Bleach up here, and I found those. I will link the site that I found them on. I found it, I think it was on the Sprite Stitch forum. It linked to a different website, and then I found them on that website. So I'll have it linked down below. And then I'm also doing Sailor Venus, but my plan is to finish the Pokemon Switch this in 2024. And then in 2025, I want to focus on Sailor Venus. And then this is a chart that I've been talking about finishing for probably at least 2 or 3 years. So if I don't get her finished this year, there's just something majorly wrong, and I just need to, I don't know, stop working on everything else until I finish her. And that is Kita. She is a Disney, she's not officially a princess, but in the movie she is a princess. I don't know why Disney does not really call her a princess. And she is from Atlantis. It's a great movie. I love it, but yeah. And this is charted from Pinky the Pink. You can find her charts on, I think it's makeitpink.net, which I'm gonna have everything linked if you want to try and find anything. And it's artwork from Hannah Alexander. And here is Kita. She is very large, so it's gonna be kind of hard to show all of her. So her hair and face is fully done. I've done all the back stitching. I did the beads around her neck this year. And she's just really long though. So this year, one of the things that I did is I stitched all the way down her dress in one section to see how long she's going to be. And she is so big. I think I still have like 22,000 stitches left. My goal this year had been to finish her, and I didn't. So I'm hoping that in 2024, I can get her finished because I set less goals on all my other projects. So like how all those projects in that big stack, I'm doing only 1,000 stitches. Part of the reason why I did that is because things like this, I really need to focus on. And so yeah. Here, I'm going to try and have like her full thing shown. This is a fabric that I dyed myself using Rit dye in the color Eggplant. It's 28 count fabric, 2/2 full cross. But she's huge. And I really want her finished because I also have other charts from Pinky the Pink. I have Link and Zelda. I already have the fabric for Link. I would like to get him started, but I'm not starting him until I finish Kita. So I really need to finish Kita in 2024. And so for her, I might start working on her just like as soon as January comes, just start working on her, try and get her finished as soon as I can, because like I've been saying it for years that I want her finished and it hasn't happened yet. So the next category is going to be the things that I would like to work on for a lot of stitches and then have them finished in 2025, hopefully. The first one is the 12 Movie Nights of Christmas stitch along from Atomic Tiki Pins. This was a stitch along that came out in, I think, 2022, and that's when I started it during Flossmas of 2022. And every few days there would be 2 movies that would come out, and then you could pick which movie you wanted to put on your stitch along. And so there was a variety of movies. There was Krampus, there was Gremlins, there was, is it Die Hard the one that people call a Christmas movie? That's kind of questionable, like, is it? I think it's Die Hard. And then there's actual Christmas movies like The Santa Claus, A Christmas Story, The Grinch, just tons, a lot of variety, so you can pick what you want. I'm also thinking that there might be one block that I try and like make my own, because I love the Christmas movie One Magic Christmas, and that was not charted on here because I don't think it's that common of a Christmas movie, or at least I don't really hear people talk about it as much, but I love One Magic Christmas. So I was thinking it would be cute to make a block that has, in One Magic Christmas, there is like an angel, he gives the girl a snow globe. So I think it would be cute to do a snow globe in the block, and then have the snow globe have a tree because he tells her that to meet him at the tree, and it's like a big deal about like lighting this tree. And then also have like above the tree like an angel halo thing because he's an angel who helps her out. So I'm thinking about trying to make that in one of these blocks. But here is the 12 movie Nights of Christmas. So far I have finished-ish the Santa Claus. I still have to do some backstitching. I have done Christmas Story. I have done Nightmare Before Christmas, which I've kind of changed this block. Originally you were supposed to do black for Oogie Boogie, and I did not do black. I just left it the fabric color because my fabric is so dark. Then there's the Grinch. There is Christmas Vacation, which still needs the words, "Where's the Tylenol?" And then over here I have started Charlie Brown, I have started Elf, and then I still need to do everything in this corner, which this corner is going to have It's a Wonderful Life. There is going to be, I think, Rudolph, and then Home Alone. And then this is an area that I'm not sure what to do with because it's originally charted to be Gremlins or I think Krampus, and I'm not doing either of those because those aren't my favorite like Christmas movies. So this could be possibly where I try and do my One Magic Christmas block, but I'm not sure yet. And then obviously there's this huge center, which the center is really cool because it has, you know, the movie reel thing, and then it has the mug, and it's gonna be great. I love it. And this is stitched on a fabric I dyed, 18 count, 2/1 full cross. My goal for next year is to do 3,000 stitches on it, and then the chart will be at the halfway point, and then in 2025 I can put it on my list of things to try and finish. And this next one is one that I started in, I think it was July, before I went on a vacation. We went to Disneyland and Universal Studios in Hollywood, and it was my kid's first time going to Universal, and we went there because Nintendo World opened, and we love Nintendo, love video games and all that. And so I started the chart Little Gamer, which is from Gecko Rouge. It's actually, I think, no longer available because is this a Medusa Dollmaker chart? It might be. I need to look that up. But if it is, it's not available anymore because Medusa Dollmaker is no longer with Gecko Rouge. She is now selling her own charts on Etsy. So this is my start on this chart. My goal for next year is to do 30,000 stitches on it. And this chart has 50,000 stitches total. And so then that means in 2025, I would only have to do 20,000 stitches. So here's my like conundrum for this chart. I almost wish I'd stitched this on a blue fabric because the background of the chart, I'll insert the picture so you can see it. The background of this chart is basically all solid except there's stars, but around the stars, it's all one color of blue. It is like 20,000 stitches of this one color of blue. I don't want to do 20,000 stitches of blue. And so I wish I had started it on a blue fabric, but I didn't. I don't really want to restart it. And so I can't decide if in 2024 I should do all the blue stitches first, or if I should do all the details first and then leave all of the blue stitching for 2025. So that's something I'm kind of trying to decide is, do I do the big background stitching first or do I leave it until last? I am not sure yet. And this is a 25 count fabric, 2/1 10 stitch. The next chart that I would like to do next year a large amount of stitching on is Autumn Harmony from Maxine Gadd. My goal for next year is to do 60,000 stitches on her, which I will still have to do like 70,000 stitches on her in 2025. So I'm really kind of hoping to do more than 60,000, but my goal is at least 60,000. And here is Autumn Harmony. She has been like a focus piece of mine for the last half of this year. I have been doing 200 stitches on her every single day, and I think that's how I will work on her next year, is just try and do like 200 or 300 stitches on her per day and then see where that gets me. She's being stitched on 18 count, I don't even know what I said. She's being stitched on 18 count, 2/1 full cross, And I originally started her in the center because I wanted to do her face first, to see her face, because I had never stitched a chart from Maxine Gadd before. And so I wanted to see her face first. And then after that, I worked up here this way. I worked to the top, and then I have been stitching down the right side of this chart. And I really would like to reach the bottom of the chart just to make sure, you know, you always want to make sure you have like enough room at the bottom because my margins at the top are kind of small. Like there wasn't a ton of room. So I really would like to reach the bottom, and then from there I can just kind of fill in however I want to. I have kind of thought about stitching her extreme cross country by color, and that would mean I would stitch one of the reds first because I think 814 has the most amount of stitches. So that's something I'm also kind of thinking about, is reaching the bottom and then picking one of the colors and doing her kind of more extreme cross country, but I'm still not 100% sure yet. And now we are on to my giant pile of charts that are going onto my WIPGO board. So there's going to be 24 charts here. My 25th space is a new start, which I'm not sure yet what my new start is going to be. I might do a separate video of charts that I have that I can start that also have fabric. So things that are more kind of somewhat kitted up, where I have the chart and fabric to go with it, and then kind of figure out what I want to do for that. I am trying to have any new start next year be under 100,000 stitches, which is 100,000 is still a lot, but I don't want to start anything that's huge next year. I don't think. I'm going to attempt to not start anything that's over 100,000 stitches next year because I already have so many charts that are large. And I've also done like calculations where like this year so far I have done 170,000 stitches. So if I start a chart that has, you know, 300,000 stitches, that's 2 years of my stitching if I were to only stitch on one chart. I am never going to be at a point where I'm only stitching one chart. So I'm trying to not start things that are that many years of stitching. So anyways, we'll get to the charts. The first one I will show is Disneyland Map, which is from Xana Cross Stitch on Etsy. And this is one that I also started in the summer. I started this one because we went to Disneyland, and I really just like to start things that are corresponding to things in my life. So if there's a show that I really like, I want to stitch a chart from that. If there's something going on, I like to stitch things relating to whatever's going on. So Disneyland Map. I am stitching it on a purple fabric that I dyed because it was Disney's 100th anniversary this year when we went, so they had everything decorated in platinum, purple, and blue, which, like, I have the Disney 100 ears over there. I can look at them right now, and the color of those ears is purple, and I love them. They have like rhinestone-y looking things on the ears. They're really pretty. And so I wanted my fabric to kind of match what was going on at the time that I started this. I started this chart in the center, which is the castle, and my plan is to stitch one attraction at a time. So right now, I'm only focused on the castle. It's probably going to take me a really long time to stitch this castle though, because it's huge. Like, this is 1% of the chart. That's it, 1 little percent. So, and then this year it's only getting 1,000 stitches in on it. So the next chart is Tarot Town 2 by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this is a chart, this was like my first ever large full coverage chart. And I originally started it on 22 count fabric, 2/1 full cross. It was too thick and I did not like it. I didn't really know a lot about different fabrics at the time because I had only stitched kits before this, which was this, my original start was in either 2012 or 2013. It was whatever year one of the Batman movies came out, because I remember I kitted up this chart because Joann's was having a sale on DMC, and this was back when DMC was on sale for like, it was either 25 cents or 33 cents because it was like 3 for $1 or 4 for $1. So DMC was really cheap. It was a great time to be alive. And then after I kitted it up, we went to Joann's, and then after that we went and saw one of the Batman movies. So it was one of the years that a Batman movie came out, and it was the Batman one with the guy with the mask. They all wear masks. I don't know a lot about Batman though, so that just tells you. Bane, it had Bane in it. The year that Batman came out. Anyway, so this is my restart of Tarot Town 2 because I restarted it a couple years ago on 28 count fabric, 2/110 stitch, because that is my favorite way to stitch now. So here's my restart of this chart. I started it in the center because I might not stitch the entire chart. I might just stitch like the floating island, some of the trees, and then call it quits on the sky, because I stitched the sky when I first started the chart, and the sky is just big blocks of color. It's not fun to stitch, and it doesn't really add that much, which is why I dyed my fabric so like it would still be blue, still sky-ish. So there is this chart. And then there is Walking in the Rain. This is the large cropped version from Artisy, and here is Walking in the Rain from Artisy. This is one that I started in the left corner. I stitched down this first page section first, and then this year I decided to stitch across the row because I'm really kind of liking doing like Royal Rose-ish method of stitching across rows like that and then filling in down. It's fun. It's a nice way to stitch because you can kind of see like the full width of the project. You kind of get a grasp of how big it's going to be. This is a 25 count fabric, 2/1 10 stitch. And then this is a chart that I have not stitched on that much. It is Templar Prophecy from Long Dog Sampler. I haven't stitched on it that much because the fabric is kind of, it's not my favorite, but I have 4 needles on here. That is excessive. I'm gonna pause real quick and put these needles away real quick. All right, the needles are put away now in my little needle storage case from Just Nan, which I'm gonna leave this here because if I find any more needles on charts, I'm going to be putting them away. I used to be much more lax about needles. I would leave needles on needle minders and just have needles with all my projects. Now I keep them in my little case. I am getting better about that. So I have my case ready. So this is Templar Prophecy from Long Dog Sampler. That's the back. Okay, there we go. Here's the front. Yes. This is one that I started a long time ago. I kind of got Long Dog Samplered out though because I finished 3, I think, so far. I finished Death by Cross Stitch, Castles in the Air, and Opening Gambit. And then I haven't really felt like stitching on them that often, but I do really love this one. I love the fabric, which is a 22 count that I'm stitching 1/1 on, and I'm using DMC 666. I love the fabric. I love the color of floss. I just haven't been feeling like stitching on a sampler, so it is what it is. I keep this as a project though, like in my actual, like I haven't UFO'd it yet because I do really love this. I would like to have it finished, but I just haven't felt like stitching on it recently. So then there is a discontinued chart coming up, which is Game of Thrones from Tilton Crafts. This was only available for like a very short period of time. I think it was only like a couple days that you could buy this chart, so I have had to buy it because I really was like into Game of Thrones at that time. It was when Game of Thrones was still like when the seasons were still on. It hadn't ended yet. Season 8 hadn't happened and traumatized us all. And so I ended up buying this because, like I said, I like to buy things and stitch on things that are going on. So Game of Thrones was something I would watch it every Sunday. It was religious. I had all of my shirts. I would wear a Game of Thrones shirt every day that I would watch the new episode. I was obsessed. I read the books. I loved it. And here is Game of Thrones. I started this one on the diagonal. I was stitching it 1/1 full cross. I have switched now to doing 2/1 10 stitch because I love 10 stitch. And I did leave my diagonal to do Littlefinger's face because I like to see how the faces are going to show up. And then because there is a new Game of Thrones spinoff, which makes me very happy because I feel like I can stitch on this now when the spinoff show is playing. I have been stitching on Daenerys' face when I watched House of the Dragons, which House of the Dragons season 2 comes out in the summer of 2024. So I'm going to be stitching her face in the summer, even aside from WIPGO. Like, even if she's not called in the summer for WIPGO, I will be working on her face every Sunday, as long as it's still on Sundays. I'm assuming it's going to be Sundays because that's Thrones Day, so I will be stitching on her face then, and I am really looking forward to it. And now we have Santa's on His Way from Charting Creations. I love this chart. I love Christmas stitching, which I have finished. Most of my things that I've stitched for seasonal stuff is Christmas related. So here is Santa's on His Way. I originally started this chart in the center with the reindeer, and then I decided to work my way up. I worked my way over to the right corner, and then just this year I stitched down the right side and reached the bottom right there. So this chart is not going to be that tall. It's very long though, so it's fun to stitch on it this way though, because now if I want to do block stitching, I can do all the sky, because this sky here is all one color. Then I can do confetti basically everywhere else. So it's a nice fun way to stitch on it. And this is a 28 count fabric, 2/1 full cross, 10 stitch. 2/1 10 stitch. Next I have Sailor Moon, which is also a discontinued Tilt and Crafts chart. She does have other Sailor Moon charts on her website if you do like Sailor Moon, which I like Sailor Moon. I'm wearing Sailor Moon right now. So here is my Sailor Moon chart, and this is a chart that I am cropping. So I'm going to be cropping some of the top off, some of the bottom off, because there's a lot of background that doesn't need to be stitched. And I started this chart in the center because I wanted to be able to start with something funner than background. Just this year, just like last week, I finished her face, which I am loving the way her face is looking, and I cannot wait to be able to stitch on it next year and get more of like her hair done and actually see more of her coming out. And then my next chart that I will show is Dear Alice, which is from Artisy. I think this was my very first chart from Artisy. And this is all I've done, which is just a lot of black, because I am stitching this one extreme cross country by color, which means the black was the color with the most stitches, so I picked that first. I started this chart in the bottom because the bottom has the most black, and then as you get up higher there is less black and it turns more green at the top of the chart. So when I stitch on it this year, in 2024, it's just going to be another 1,000 stitches in black. Boring. And she is being stitched on 18 count, 2/1 full cross. This next chart is one that I've restarted. This is my third time starting this chart. It's Rainbow Basin, which is by Tilt and Crafts. I love the artwork. I apparently have had trouble finding the right fabric. I finally have just defaulted back to my 28 count, 2/1 10 stitch. The first time I started it, 36 count, 1/1 tent. Didn't love it because my eyes could not see the light stitches on the fabric. Then I started it on a 20 count fabric. I could not get a good amount of threads to coverage ratio without it being too thick. So then here is my start now on 28 count, 2/1 10 stitch. I like this. I'm going to keep this. From now on, I am not going to start crazy things. So I'm going to remember that. If anyone sees me trying to do something like starting a full coverage on a weird fabric, just be like, Jamie, you don't like different fabrics for your full coverage. So this, perfect. I just need to buy a lot more 28 and 25 count gridded fabric because it's my favorite. The next one that I will show is Heaven on Earth 2, which is from Charting Creations. Because I have so many charts that are from the same companies. I have lots of Charting Creations, Tilt and Crafts, Heaven and Earth. I have 3 Gecko Rouges, and I really need to branch out. So when I do start other full coverage charts, I would like to start something from the sewing shop, something from Unconventional Cross Stitch, and there is another place I want to start charts from because I would like to branch out because there's too much from the same companies and there's a lot more out there now. So, Charting Creations. This is Heaven on Earth 2. And this is another like wintry scene, and I like this because it's like wintry without being like super, Christmassy, because it's just, a snowy scene with the Christmas lights. There was like the light tree has lights on it, but it's not like Santa in your face like Christmas. So I like things like that because they're more, toned down, and it reminds me of when I was younger and I would do like the puzzles with like my mom and stuff, and they were always like the seasonal wintry scenes where there'd be like the Victorian house with the snow. So I like things like that, which is a lot different from some of my other projects, when I have a lot of fandom things, but then I also like, kind of more traditionally pretty houses. So this is also a 28 count fabric, 2/1 10 stitch. The next one that I have is another fandom stitching. This is Witcher. I think this is the large version from Thread Geeks. And here he is. I am stitching him Extreme Cross Country by color, and so far I have finished 2 colors. So I did the black first, and then this year I added in a dark gray color, and I finished that color. So he's got 2 colors finished. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going Extreme Cross Country or if I might just start stitching, you know, filling in like his face or background or something and start focusing on areas. Haven't decided yet. And this is a 25 count fabric, 2/1 10 stitch. The next chart that I will show is another Maxine Gad, and this is what I'm talking about when I say that there are some companies that have a lot of charts. I think I'm stitching 3 Maxine Gads. It's a lot, which is why Autumn Harmony is a focus piece. She is a Maxine Gad chart. And then once she's done, then I can make one of the other Maxine Gads a focus piece and then just try and get some of these charts out and start focusing on like, or starting charts from other companies. So this is another Maxine Gad. I do really love Maxine Gad's charting though. Like it looks amazing. Things aren't, sometimes faces can end up having like weird skin tones. They end up being warmer than the artwork or end up being really dark or have blotchy spots, and her faces are really, really good. So that's the one thing that with Maxine Gad is it's like the faces. So like this face is gorgeous. I need to move all my park threads. So I started this one in the middle again because I wanted to stitch the face first. I love the face. And then this year for Mania, I was doing like all black Mania. So I was doing monogamous May, but it was monogamous to a color. So I was only stitching on the color black. I didn't get that much stitching done though, because that was also the month that there was games to play. So like that was my most, I got my Switch year in review thing, and May was the month that I played the most amount of games. So there wasn't a lot of stitching, but I stitched black and I started here and I worked over to the side, and then I worked my way up to the top in the black. And then after May, I started working on other colors in the top row, stitching it more like the Royal Rose method, where I would pick a color, stitch it, and then park it down below, because there is a ton of colors in this top row. Like it's a ton of like greens and blues. You can see all these park threads here. That's all the colors that are used in this top row. It's crazy. And this is being stitched on a 28 count 2/1 10 stitch. And I love it. So when I do work on her in 2024, it's most likely going to be keep working on the background, because I would like to get more of the background filled in, because, you know, background is kind of boring. It's boring, but also so much confetti. It's crazy. Then this chart here is Mayera Salome, which is by Nini Thomas. This is one that I started in a Stitch Mania of 2020 or somewhere around there. And I started this one in the middle of the top row and then have been working down. I would like to get her face filled in just to see how it's going to turn out, because I have never stitched a chart from her before. And so I always like to get faces done kind of early on to see what I'm going to think of the face. So, and she's being stitched. This might be one that I'm stitching on a 27 count Linda 2/1 10 stitch. I have 2 charts that are on 27 count Linda, but I can never tell them apart really from the 28 count because they're so similar. And then another Maxine Gad coming up, and this is Snow Cherries, which I love the artwork because it's just really pretty with like the grays, but then it has the reds, the bright reds. But I haven't done that much on her. So here's Snow Cherries. I started this one again. I started this one in Stitch Mania the same year I did Mayera Salome. They were started the same time. And so I started this one in the middle of the top row too, and then I worked my way down because I wanted to stitch the little red gem because I really wanted to stitch something colorful. And then I worked on it this year and worked my way across the top row to get to the left corner so that I can start stitching it more Royal Rose method, where you work your way across the top row. And that's all it's done. This might be another 27 count, but like I said, I'm not exactly sure. So and then now I have a couple Charting Creations charts that are just right on top of each other. So we'll do Charting Creations right now. This is the chart Yennefer from Charting Creations. This artist is the same artist who made the Witcher chart. So to me, they're like sibling pieces, even though they're charted by different companies. So the Witcher is Thread Geeks. Yennefer is charted from Charting Creations. and I am stitching them on fabric to try and make them a similar size. So Witcher is on 25 count, 2/1 tent stitch, because that will give him a similar finish size to Yennefer, and she is on 28 count, 2/1 tent stitch. And I cropped a little bit of her off because she was a slightly bigger finish size than Witcher, but I wanted them to be a similar finish size. So here is Yennefer. I am also stitching her Extreme Cross Country by color, starting with the black, and I have finished all the black down here on her dress part. I have also worked my way up to the top, so this right here is the top of the chart right there. And then now I just need to do all the black that's in her hair, and then there's a lot of black for the mask that's over her face, which I'm excited to stitch that because like it looks really cool in Pattern Keeper when you highlight the black, because you can see like the mask on her face, and it's gonna be really cool to see. So this is a 28 count, 2/1 tent stitch. And then another Charting Creations chart is Sanctuary. So like I said, I have tons of Charting Creations charts. That makes it, I think I'm at 4, because there's Sanctuary, Yennefer, Santa's on His Way, and Heaven on Earth too. It's a lot. I kind of am almost tempted to like UFO one or two of them and give myself room for other company charts, but I don't know. That's something I haven't really thought that much about, but now thinking about it, there's a lot of Charting Creations right now. And here's Sanctuary. This is being stitched on a 28 count, 2/1 tent stitch. I think I also started this during that Stitch Mania that I started, the Maxine Gad one here, and not this one. This one, Snow Cherries, and My Yara Salome. I don't think I'd ever do a Stitch Mania again where I start things because I started way too many large charts. I don't want to do that again. And they're not really that far. So here's Sanctuary. The last time I stitched on this for Flossmas, I was working on the sky area, which the sky area is fun to stitch on. This area here is confetti, not funness. I'm not going to say a bad word right now. And so yeah, like, that's all it's done. Kind of sad. Let's see. I'm trying to group these into things. Gecko Rouge. I will do 2 Gecko Rouges at a time, I guess. Yes. Okay, so the next 2 are going to be Gecko Rouge. So I have the chart Fables from Gecko Rouge, and I don't have that much done on this. I started this one last year during Flossmas. I gave myself a couple new starts last year for Flossmas, and they would be like randomly picked throughout the month. And I've only worked on it like one other time since Flossmas. So it's a very small start. This is a smaller Gecko Rouge chart though, so I think this only has like 60,000 stitches. So it's kind of a small chart compared to a lot of my other charts. But you know, it's not gonna get done if I don't work on it. So my plan is to do Little Gamer first, and then I will put in another Gecko Rouge chart to try and get another one finished, because I need to start getting some of these charts out. And this only has like 20-ish colors or something, so it's not that many colors, but it ends up having a lot of confetti to get the details in there. So, and this is a 25 count, it looks like, 2/1 tent stitch. And then my other Gecko Rouge chart is called Piper Boy. And this is a larger Gecko Rouge, so this one is over 100,000 stitches. I think it's closer to like 170,000 stitches, so it's pretty big. I am thinking about cropping off one of the sides. There's a side that has a lot of just dark where there's a tree, and I think I might crop off some of that part of the chart because it's not really like necessary. It doesn't have a ton of details in that section. And I started this chart, this also started during Flossmas last year? I think it was. So I had 2 floss. I need to stop doing a month where I start a lot of large full coverages. It's not good. This was also started in Flossmas. I started it in the center because I wanted to be able to start with like the Piper Boy and get some of like the fun details in. And I started it only stitching the black, and then I was like, I don't want to stitch this one Extreme Cross Country, so I started stitching on the other colors. And this is a 28 count 2/1 tent stitch. And then this project here is another Flossmas 2022 new star. It's Pokemon Gen 1 from Lord Libidin. It also doesn't have a lot done on it, which, like I said, I need to stop doing multiple full coverage starts in 1 month. Here's where I am on my Pokemon chart. This is being stitched on a 28 count 2/1 tent stitch. And this chart is really fun though, because you can just see that even in this small section here, Like, this is only a few thousand stitches, but there's already multiple Pokemon. So you have Zapdos, you have Moltres showing up right there, Porygon, and then you have Flareon, and then this right here is going to be, I think it's Ammonite, I think. And so there's already just a lot of fun Pokemon showing up in this chart. But yeah, small, barely start, all that. And then I will group these other things kind of together. Okay, next I will show Keyblades to the Kingdom, which was a stitch along from Stitchy Rin. And it's a Kingdom Hearts themed stitch along. Kingdom Hearts is a video game. I love the video game Kingdom Hearts. It's like one of my favorites. It originally came out on PS2 and then it's been on like every system since. So there are some games for it on Game Boy Advance, DS, 3DS, PSP, and then they remade them and put all of them into like a collection that you can play on PS4, on PS5. Don't play it on Switch, because on Switch you have to play it over the cloud. So you don't get to actually like download it. You have to have an internet connection and stream the game. So anyways, this is the Keyblades to the Kingdom stitch along. And I'm stitching on a pink fabric that I had dyed myself. It was originally going to be for a Long Dog sampler, and then I was like, didn't like the Long Dog sampler on this fabric, so I did not stitch it on here. And it's a stiff fabric. This is a 18 count, 2/1 full cross. And so far I have Keyblades to the, and then just the K I did during Flossmas. And then in Kingdom Hearts, you fight with a Keyblade. That's, you just whack it around, hit people, and that's your weapon. And so this is just a stitch along of all the different Keyblades, not all of them, because there's a lot of the different Keyblades, and I have not even done that much. So there's smaller Keyblades that go along the top, and then in the other sections you have like really big Keyblades. So I need to work on that and get more done on this. And then I will do I have 2 Heaven and Earth charts left. And then I have 2 that are from different companies, but they were my new year, new starts for 2022 going into 2023. So I'll save those ones for last, and we'll do Heaven and Earth charts right now. So this is Mini Masquerade Pale Dawn, and it's a smaller chart because it's a mini, so it's kind of nice. And then it also has less colors because it's more of like a black and white, gray and white chart. I'm gonna say gray and white because I don't think this chart actually has any black in it, which is kind of surprising. So this is my Mini Masquerade Pale Dawn. I am stitching it on a pink fabric. It's 28 count, 2/1 tent stitch. And I picked a pink fabric because the edges aren't hard lines. So you actually are going to end up seeing some of the fabric because you don't stitch like, you see they're swirlies, and you don't stitch like a straight line. So I want it to be a fun fabric for that. And I love the way that this is turning out. It does have some like sparkle in it. I don't know if you'll be able to see the sparkle, but it's going to be a very sparkly chart, which I do like. But again, this is another tiny baby star. And then I have another Haid, which this one is Christmas 2. And this is one that I started this year for Flossmas, but this year for Flossmas, I only started 1 large full coverage. See, I am improving. And this is a chart that I am cropping off part of the side. I'm cropping off 50 stitches from the right side and 10 stitches from the top row. And that cut off like 30,000 stitches from this chart, so progress. And this is being stitched with all CXC floss, 1/1 tent stitch on 32 count fabric. And I love this chart. I'm really hoping that by the end of the month I can have this first page finished. This is the edge of page 1, this is the bottom of page 1, and this is just a really fun chart because like this is just like Christmas threw up in your face. There is so much going on, and I love that aesthetic. Yeah. And then my last charts that I will show is, last year I did a New Year's Eve new start, and then I did a New Year's Day new start. And so this is what this is. And they haven't had that much progress on them because too many charts. So the first one I will show is Lord of the Rings, which is from Glitch Stitch AU because I love Glitch Stitch AU. I'm obsessed. There's so many other things they have. They have like this Animal Crossing / like Polly Pocket thing. So it looks like a little Polly Pocket shell, but it's Animal Crossing inside. Who wouldn't want that? And so this is Lord of the Rings though. I started this one. I might have done this one first, or I don't remember if it was this was either New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. I don't remember which one. And I started with the black, and I'm stitching it on 22 count 1/1 full cross. And I'm actually stitching this on the fabric that used to be Tarot Town 2. So this used to be Tarot Town 2, some of the trees, and then I cut it up so I could stitch this on it instead. And like I said, the 2/1 was just really thick. I wasn't enjoying that. And so the 1/1 is better, but the coverage isn't super great. You can kind of see some of the fabric through it, so there's that. And then this is the very last chart, and then we're done. And my last chart is my first pain-free crafts chart, and I'm really loving this chart a lot. And that it's Dark Cinderella. It's beautiful. The colors are gorgeous. And here it is. This was the first chart that I tried out 32 count gridded fabric, and I really like the way that this works. This is 1/110 stitch on 32 count. And it's small, but it's still visible, like easy to see. And then because it's gridded, it's easier to stitch on than using like an ungridded 32 count fabric. And then I'm stitching this one on the diagonal, and it's just so pretty. I started in the top left corner, and I might stop doing diagonal stitching though, because when you look at the chart, there are very clear like lines of where colors are going to end, because the left section is very like colorful and has a lot going on, and then in the center it gets really dark where, you know, there's like Cinderella and all that stuff, and then the right side has more colors because of the castle. So I might start stitching this one in little columns, so like doing all the colorful section, stitching the dark section, and then like there's going to be another section of light. So I might move to doing something like that, but we will have to see when it gets called for WIPGO what I do end up doing. So that was all my projects. I think I have like 31 projects at this moment. I would like to get more finished this year. Like I have 4 that I plan on finishing this year. And so far, I only have 1 new start plan for WIPGO, which would mean I could possibly end next year with less WIPs than I have right now. But who knows what's going to happen, because I have more things that I want to start. I have charts that I have fabric for that I can start. But like I said, try and keep it as smaller starts and starts from other companies is kind of what I'm trying to do next year. So that's everything though for this video. I might have a separate video that has my 2023 finishes, but I'm not entirely sure yet, so we will see what happens there. But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you if you comment, if you like this video, if you dislike this video, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!